So the Grizzlies want to trade Ja Morant. 2 years too late in my opinion. Now in 2026 they want to trade him. Brother, if I was in the front office, respectfully to Ja, I would have traded him like 2 years ago. It's crazy because Ja Morant a couple years ago was viewed as like the young guy. He's viewed how Anthony Edwards is viewed now. He was viewed as like the potential face of the league. However, now he's just kind of lost a lot of the steam that he picked up through his good performances. And this isn't me saying Ja Morant isn't a good player. I still think he is good. I think he has potential. However, he just wasn't the guy he was a couple years ago. And yes, a lot of this stems from a lot of the off-court stuff. However, his performances are still pretty decent. Like this season, he's averaging 19, 3, and 8, which is, it's not bad, but they're not like all-star caliber numbers, and they're not the numbers that he was averaging a few years ago. But anyway, today we're gonna go through some potential trades because Memphis finally want to trade him now. So we're gonna go through some of the trades. Anyway, I'm gonna start yapping. Let's get into it. So the first one, the Miami Heat, which personally, Ja Morant, Miami Heat, that's sick, but also very dangerous. So the Miami Heat, they get Ja Morant. The Memphis Grizzlies get Tyler Hero and some random, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a casual, don't know who that is. But I kind of think this is a win-win for both teams. I feel like both teams are kind of in the position where they're not good enough to compete, but they're not bad enough to be a lottery team. And I feel like they need to change things up and kind of change up and decide which direction they want to go in. I feel like Memphis getting rid of Ja Morant and then them getting Tyler Hero, I feel like that's a decent swap. And I feel like the same for the Miami Heat. I feel like them getting rid of Tyler Hero, who's kind of injury prone. To be fair, they're both injury prone. But I feel like both these guys kind of swapping those two players is kind of a win-win for both teams. However, I don't feel like it kind of cements what direction they're going in because they're both good players. They're not star players, but they're both good. So I don't think this trade is going to make either team be a contender or be a lottery team. The next one is the Bucks get Ja Morant, Grizzlies Kyle Kuzma, Kevin Porter, and a first-round pick swap, and then the Detroit Pistons get Gary Harris and cash considerations. My boy Gary Harris is the GOAT. The Pistons are winning this trade, man. Now, but in all seriousness, this is interesting. I think Giannis and Ja Morant would be a cool duo. I feel like Memphis getting Kyle Kuzma, Kevin Porter Jr. is alright. I feel like they're gonna get worse and maybe they can be paired up in future trades. But I think the pick swap would be interesting as well. Like I don't think Ja Morant going to like the Bucks and having a pick swap with the Bucks is gonna be beneficial for them. I still think this is just like a nothing trade as well. I don't feel like any teams in this trade package get better or worse. If anything, this kind of seems like a trade where the Bucks are just trying to get a new guy for Giannis. I think this is a trade where if Ja Morant goes to the Bucks, Giannis will probably stay with Milwaukee just because he has a new star caliber player with him. But I don't think the Bucks get any better from this trade. Like I don't think Ja Morant is a guy who's gonna be a star player on a team that can win a championship, in my opinion. Our third one is Ja Morant goes to the Toronto Raptors. The Grizzlies get Agbaji, Emmanuel Quigley, and a first-round pick. I think this is actually kind of a win-win trade. I think if the Raptors get Ja Morant and you pair him with guys like Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, and the other good like young guys like Grady Dick and stuff, I feel like the Raptors can be a decent team. And I feel like any team out East, if they get Ja Morant, they can be better just because the East is bad. And I think this is kind of a win for the Memphis Grizzlies as well. You're getting a good young guy in Emmanuel Quigley. You're getting a first-round pick as well, which is going to be top 14 protected, but it's still a first-round pick. I think this is the best trade we've seen so far. I think the Raptors get better. They get a good young guy who's good offensively and who still has all-star potential in Ja Morant. And then the Memphis Grizzlies with this trade can go into more of a rebuild and kind of build around their young guys like Emmanuel Quigley. So this trade is the best one so far, and Memphis get a first-round pick, which is valuable and that they can use in other trades and stuff like that. So this is definitely the best trade so far. However, the last one is that the Minnesota Timberwolves get Ja Morant. The Memphis Grizzlies get Rob Dillingham, Naz Reid, and a second-round pick via the Bulls. The Wizards, Terrence Sharon Jr., and the Utah Jazz get Mike Conley. Now, personally, this is my favorite trade in terms of where Ja Morant goes. Ja Morant and Anthony Edwards on the same team, that's cinema. The Timberwolves are going to be setting out their arena every single night. Both these guys on the same team is going to be electric. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of work together. But I think this is a really good trade for the Minnesota Timberwolves because they're also getting rid of Mike Conley. And the Timberwolves, they need a good point guard. And Ja Morant is still a good point guard. And maybe in this Timberwolves, ecosystem, you can kind of leave the off-court stuff behind and develop into like a winning player. The only downside from Minnesota is they are getting rid of Naz Reid. However, if I'm getting rid of Naz Reid and Rob Dillingham for Ja Morant, I'm low-key taking that. Especially because the Minnesota Timberwolves, they need like another piece in the point guard position to make them go from like the conference finals to the finals. And I feel like this could be that piece. Ja Morant could be that guy to give the Timberwolves specifically that leap to make it to the NBA finals. Anyway, guys, let me know which trade you guys prefer. I think if I had to choose one, it's got to be the last one, man. Personally, seeing Ja Morant and Anthony Edwards on the same team would be electric. But the third one's gonna this Raptors one's good. I also like this Raptors one. That one's good as well. But let me know which one you guys like. And let me know where you think Ja Morant's going to go if the Memphis Grizzlies eventually trade him. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.